Hey, how's it going? Welcome back. And just jumping on to show some records. Surprise, surprise. Not as many obscurities this time around. I feel that a lot of the records I'm going to show are ones that people know. Most of the bands don't really demand much of an introduction, which makes my job infinitely easier. I've had pretty good luck with metal over the last few weeks. The record store in my town, Records and Relics, mainly they're more classic rock and mainstream oriented as far as stock goes, but they do buy collections. So occasionally they get stuff in that would be of interest to me. I hadn't been in for a while. I popped in a couple weeks ago. The owner, Rick, said he was glad I stopped by because he had a pile of records in the back room and he didn't want to put them on the shelves until I'd had a chance to look through them, which is the best possible customer service, and I completely applaud that. So I looked through them, all metal, all pretty good, but a majority of the covers were severely water damaged, like severely to the point where my OCD just wouldn't have it. So I skipped by the ones that were, completely jacked, but I still managed to grab a few gems. Beginning with this, Hellhammer, Apocalyptic Raids. It's a Noise Records pressing from 1984. Everybody knows Hellhammer, Swiss band, precursor to Celtic Frost. Doomy, guttural, brutal. Especially for 1984. This band is super influential. This record is super influential. What more can you say about Hellhammer? It's perfect. I've only ever owned this on cassette, though. I've never ever had a vinyl copy of it, so I was, beyond happy to finally add it to my collection. So, yeah, Hellhammer. Next, it's another one I've actually never owned a vinyl copy of. I've had it on cassette. The cassette's long dead. Talking about Voivod, War and Pain. Also from 1984. This is a Canadian pressing on Bonsai Records, as you can tell by the speed metal stamp. A little bit of water damage to this one, but I can live with that. The other ones, it was like right across the whole bottom of the sleeve, so it would just drive me insane. But everybody knows Voivod, band from Quebec. Very unorthodox structurally and from a songwriting perspective. This is their first record. It's kind of them at, I guess, maybe their most brutal. Very well done. Nothing really sounded like these guys at that time. Nothing really sounds like them now. But obviously nowadays they've changed their style dramatically. But they're still enjoyable. They're still writing weird, kind of cryptic, strange songs. They're playing here next month. I'm going to go check them out. But yeah, Voivod. And the last of the pile that I picked up, although I just grabbed this one yesterday, it was still there. It's Possessed, Seven Churches, 1985. It's a Roadrunner Records pressing. Again, everybody knows Possessed, San Francisco band, Bay Area, whatever. Amazing thrash record. Definitely planting the seeds for death metal stylistically, like you can hear it in here. The last song on the B-side is actually called death metal, so they're definitely credited with coming up with the term. They're also, largely credited with starting to develop what would become the death metal sound. I don't know if they were the first band to start, cultivating that style, but they're definitely one of the first. But yeah, and I didn't have a copy of this, surprisingly. So now I do, and I'm stoked on it. Here's another Bonsai Records release from 1985. It's a band from Los Angeles. Agent Steel, Skeptics Apocalypse. When I was a kid, I would have fucking hated this. Musically, it's like speed metal with a heavy, power metal influence, maybe. But it's the vocals. When people are trying to make fun of heavy metal vocals, poke fun at it, I feel that they try and sound like this guy sounds. Very high-pitched, over the top, very shrill. Like I said, when I was a kid, this would have went straight in the trash. But now that that I'm an adult, theoretically speaking, and my tastes have, I guess refined somewhat, I'm digging this. I've listened to this a bunch already. I don't plan on filing it away anytime soon, so it's going to get a lot more plays. Totally, better late than never. I'm totally glad that I checked this band out and gave them a fair shake nowadays. But yeah, Agent Steel. Vocalist actually kind of reminds me if the singer from Overkill was like way more over the top, it would sound like this guy. All right, now we're going to Finland, 1984, Combat Records. I've wanted this record for a long time, but I didn't want to mail order it. It's always a little more money than I want to spend to begin with, let alone with shipping. But I've never seen a copy, right in front of me until now. Oz, Fire in the Brain. This is great, just straight up heavy metal. Kind of reminds me of like maybe mid-period Judas Priest, even down to the vocals, except where Rob Halford hits those like shrill, shrieking, like, high notes and whatnot. When this guy tries to like rev it up a bit, he ends up kind of sounding like the guy from Gravedigger, at least in my ears. Maybe I'm full of shit, I don't know. But I've heard other stuff by this band, and it's good. But this is the record that I actually like by them the most. But yeah, it's just good, straight up Finnish heavy metal. All right, now we go on to something I don't like quite as much. It's okay, kinda. I've seen this record a million times. It's been in front of me at record stores a million times. I even know people that have owned it, but I've never actually heard it. And the covers just always kind of turn me off a little bit. Talking about Guitar Pete's Axe Attack, Dead Soldier's Revenge. It's from New York City. It's 1985. It's on Heavy Metal America. It's got a skull on the front with an orange egg yolk in one of the sockets. I don't know. And then just to get this out of the way, if you're a dude and you refer to yourself as Guitar Pete, the fuck out of my house. That's just stupid. I don't know if he was trying to make this like a vanity project. Oh, wait. Yeah, I think maybe he was. Yeah, this is... There are a couple tracks on this that are all right. Like, they're just kind of, mid-pace to slightly up-tempo metal, in the way that, like, Motorhead has some kind of up-tempo metal-y tracks. Although, this is, you can't compare this to Motorhead at all. I'm just saying, like, pace-wise. But most of this is kind of like going in a, like a sleaze, glam metal kind of direction. Like, you can definitely tell that they were trolling for vagina when they recorded this record. And I sincerely hope they did not find any, because it's a pretty half-hearted attempt at it. The biggest claim to fame for this band, I think, is that C.J. Ramone was counted among their ranks. But even that doesn't really save it. I mean, a couple good tracks, but most of this is pretty shitty. So yeah, Guitar Pete's Axe Attack. I mean, did I really expect it to be good? Nah, it sounds exactly like what I thought it would sound like. Now we're going to stick with the bar metal. We're going to go over to Toronto. A band called Rapid Tears. Pretty sure I've shown their Headbang single on here before. That track's actually on this record. It's from 1982. It's on Chameleon Records. It's called Honestly. I think this is of their... I think they only have two 12 inches. One's Cry for Mercy, which I also have. And then this one. This one seems to be the one that doesn't turn up so much. I'd never heard it before. This is totally competent, just straight up heavy metal. It's bar metal. It just sounds like you'd walk into a crowded, bar and Rapid Tears would be on the stage. They got that guy. Looks like a TV magician. Kind of looks like Kevin Sullivan back in his Florida stint in the 80s. This is good, but I mean, occasionally it veers off into like hard rock territory, maybe with even like a little bit of like 70s glam influence, but those tracks are few and far between. Mostly it's just kind of like driving, anthemic, it's hard rock and, early metal. Like, I mean, it's from 1982 in Toronto, so yeah, Rapid Tears. Now we got one that is an obscurity. It's so obscure, even I don't know anything about it. Even Google doesn't know anything about it. The only thing I know about this band is that they're from North Bay, Ontario, which is about 7 hours north of where I live. Like, they live up in the area of Ontario where it gets fucking shitty in the winter. It's called Barry Philip Etches. Hell Hath No Fury. Weird name, I know, but it's actually named after this guy, Barry Philip Etches. Like the last two, this is pretty much bar rock. There are some great tunes in here, like Watch Him Die. It's almost a thrash song. Like, there's some good, harder ones on here. There's too many kind of wimpy ones, though. I mean, not really to the point of being ballads, but a little lighter than I would like. It's on World Records from like 1987. But yeah, I'd never heard of this band before, and I mean, hearing any bands that come from Northern Ontario is pretty rare. I know a girl that grew up in North Bay at the time that this record came out, and she'd never ever heard of it. So yeah, I don't even know. But yeah, Google doesn't tell you shit either. So yeah, Barry Philip Etches. The good songs are real good. The bad songs are eh. Now, speaking of we're going to go Clay Records, 1986. Discharge, Grave New World. Never owned this before. I think I might have only ever heard it once. It's a record that lives in notoriety. Discharge was like the greatest band in the fucking world. Still kind of are. And then this. Like, if you're in a band that's well regarded, popular, has everything going for it, this right here is what you shouldn't do. Terrible, terrible attempt at metal. The vocals sound like King Diamond with fucking pneumonia. It's a gatefold. You got words. You got a picture. You got the guilty parties right there. Yeah, this is terrible. I don't regret owning it because it's just funny to pull out, I suppose, but god damn, this is terrible. Discharge, they already put up with enough shit over it, but I'm going to give it again for, this 30 seconds it took me to talk about this record. Now we go to a really interesting one. It's a band from Hungary called Najifero és a Bikini. Yeah. Najifero, the dude, he was pretty popular in the Hungarian music scene in the late 70s. Started out in a band called Beatrice. He's a multi-instrumentalist, like he plays saxophone and piano and whatever else. This is super interesting. Like, when they actually hit the punk stride, like the punk aspects of this record, it reminds me a lot of an early Yugoslavian band called Pekinska Patka. It's kind of like, it's got kind of a pulsing beat to it. Like, it's kind of bouncy, but it's kind of pulsing. The drumming on this is fucking outstanding. There's a lot going on. The songs are really well written. There's just a lot going on to it. And there's a bunch of interludes in here. Now, I don't claim to be an authority on Hungarian cultural music, but there's a lot of interludes on this with some, like, kind of offbeat instruments. Like, there's, like woodwinds in here, and there's string instruments and brass instruments and whatnot. But it sounds like what I would expect Hungarian cultural music to sound like. So there's a lot of really weird, influences being shown on this record. First time I ever heard them was there was a cassette compilation called World Class Punk, and it was released by ROIR Records back in the day. And they had one of the songs off this record was on that. Like, this record's called Hova, Lett. I think the track they did was It was called like "Come Off It" or something like that. But I just liked it because it was weird and unorthodox, and turns out this entire record is just like that. Super good. It's, if you you know, if you're willing to jump in and listen to something you maybe normally wouldn't, then Najifero Bikini might be for you. A lot of those Hungarian bands are strange. Like I talked about in when I did the video about cassettes a couple videos back, like Trottle, same thing. But I actually like this band better. Now we're going to Germany, 1986, Destiny Records, great band. Combat Not Conform. This is the Love LP. Combat Not Conform, hardcore punk band, female vocalist. Bass playing on this is awesome. Pretty fast. The drums are pretty fast. The singer of this band, I had no idea until I kind of looked it up, but she's from Burlington, Ontario, which is right beside Hamilton, Ontario, so it's like a bit over an hour away from me. I had no idea she was Canadian. She was also in a band called Manson Youth that did a pretty good split LP with another German band called Hostages of Ayatollah. And then she also went on to be in a band called Jingo de Lunch, who are fairly well known. A couple guys in here were from No Allegiance, which was no surprise to me because they're the only other band that I'm aware of on Destiny Records. I believe the guys from No Allegiance ran Destiny Records, so it's no surprise. And as I said, the bass playing on this is great. The bass player actually was in a German band called the Malenheads. But yeah, this is really, really good. I'd wanted a copy for years, and I finally just saw a cheap one on Discogs, so I ordered it. And we're going to end this one up in Finland. A band if you watch Tommy's Vinylnaut, you're definitely aware of this. He can school you on this way better than I could, so I'm going to put a link below to Tommy's channel. Go to that for all your Finnish hardcore needs and watch him talk about this band. Teravit Cadet. This is the Ääretön Propaganda LP and 7-inch. This is really a comp of a bunch of different releases, a bunch of early releases. The Message 12-inch. The Ääretön Yulu 7-inch, Black God LP, and their self-titled LP. I think the 7-inch is just made up of like compilation tracks from here and there. Where is the 7-inch? There's no sleeve or anything. It's just a red vinyl 7-inch. But classic early Finnish hardcore. Angry, primitive kind of. Fairly brutal, pretty guttural. Just a great band. Fell in love with them the first time I heard them, which was on the Welcome to 1984 comp with the song Otoma. Super, super good band. And yeah, go look at Tommy's channel and you'll learn a lot more about them. That's all I got. And on the subject of show, I give a shout out to Tommy. I'm going to give a shout out to Bruce over at Punk's Not Dad. New channel. I will also link that, and you should definitely subscribe to him if you haven't already. Dude knows his shit, shows great punk stuff, and he's a genuinely good guy. So check that shit out. I am out of here because it's nice outside and I got to go find something to do. Bye.